Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the All In Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, as always, Eli Cooper, and I'm joined once again by the great Mike White.
Mike White. White
Oh,
Mike.
Mike.
What's going on, baby?
Not much, man. Congrats on your debut with the Jets this weekend.
Yes. Well.
Yeah, lots of Michael Carter touches, so appreciate that. He desperation start this week.
I tried to trade it to you in another league. You didn't want to.
Yeah, you're right. And I stand by that.
Oh, and I beat you in fantasy this week. I beat you in fantasy
this week.
Yes,
you did.
Right.
Yeah, pretty badly.
Right.
Now, in fairness, it was. Waller was a late scratch, and Dalvin Cook was already on bye. So, and my receiver position, Allen Robinson, has been one of the worst receivers in fantasy. So my best receiver is Cortland Sutton, who is okay against the Browns.
Yeah.
But
not your best option.
It was bad.
I didn't have a great week either. I just,
Yeah, it's just my team is that bad.
It was, yeah. That's exactly
79 points, guys, in that league. So I'm in 8 leagues. Guess how many I have a winning record in?
Are you going to destroy all of our credibility? 2 or 3, hopefully, right?
At least 1.
Okay, all right. Well, injury, it's been a bad injury year.
It has, but I really haven't been killed by injuries. Like, there's just guys not performing, and some really unlucky weeks. Like our Mikey and Friends league, that's the league that you started. I'm 5-2. That's the one league. My team's really good.
Oh yeah, you have a nice. That's the only league I'm bad in, actually.
Yeah, and then Dynasty, I'm now 2-5. I lost my first 5 games. 3 losses by under 3 points. I had 1 loss by 3, 1 by 2.5, and 1 by 0.8 in that league. So I really could just as easily be 5-2 in that league as I am 2-5. But it's just been such an unlucky fantasy year for me.
Did I ever run by you the fantasy format that Taylor uses in a different league? We're on a sidebar right now. We are going to have an episode about stuff. But so what they do in that league is you have basically 2 matchups every week. You play your opponent, and then you also play the average score. So if you say if you lose to your opponent, but you had a good week, you beat the average score, so you go 1-1 for that week.
Right.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So and then if you have a bad week where you lose to your opponent and the average score, you're getting 2 losses.
Your week this week would have been 0-2, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Fair enough. Okay, that's an interesting format. First I've ever heard of that, to be honest, but I like it.
I like it.
Yeah. So, like you said, we do have actual stuff to talk to you guys about today, not just our fantasy roster. I just wanted you guys to feel a little bit of my pain. Before we get into our jam-packed show featuring some World Series talk, which Mike's been begging for. Yeah. We're going to get into some NFL talk and some NBA overreaction. We're hitting the trifecta today. We're talking all 3 sports. But before we get into that, if you are listening or watching, whatever platform you're on, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We love comments. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, leave us comments, even Twitter, leave us comments. We love that stuff. If you're on the audio platforms, if you're one of those, if you tune in there, make sure you guys leave a rating and a review. That kind of stuff helps our podcast get noticed and things like that. So we really appreciate you taking that little bit of time out of your day to check out that stuff. All right. So we're going to dive right into probably the most important topic of what we're going to discuss today, which is the World Series.
Easily most important topic.
Easily the most important topic. The Astros,
yes,
maybe to some MLB fans, regret, are back in the World Series.
Yeah.
And they will be meeting the terrible Atlanta Braves. I'm a Phillies fan. So.
Oh, gotcha. Right.
The terrible Atlanta Braves, who are actually
tough for you to have someone to cheer for then, right? You got to either cheer for the Braves, the rival, or the cheaters. The former cheaters.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go.
Dusty Baker is lovable.
He is. I do really like Dusty Baker. Although I don't know. I don't know that I've forgiven the Astros yet. So I'm gonna rock out with the Braves. If there's an NL East team that isn't the Phillies, that's gonna win it, that seems fair.
Sure.
But let's talk a little bit about some of the keys to an Astros victory in this series.
Yeah, so obviously we know about this lineup, right? We're just looking at lineups across Major League Baseball. This you'd put them right there with the Dodgers for the most lethal lineup, right? Jordan Alvarez has kind of become a top 5 hitter in baseball, MVP, dark horse for next year. Like he's kind of the new Big Poppy almost. He's a little bit unstoppable when it comes to this. Carlos Correa, time and time again has stepped up huge in the playoffs. This is kind of what he's known for now. It's his time in the playoffs. He's the Damian Lillard of Major League Baseball for a lot of people, and he owns that. And he took a lot of crap for the cheating stuff and some of his comments, but he showed up huge, and so is Altuve. So we know this team is going to hit, right? We know that they're going to put runs on the board. They did it against Boston. And the key here, I think, is the pitching and specifically the bullpen, right? So we know that these guys have starters, right? So they got Valdez going tonight. They're going to have McCullers. I'm really focused on the bullpen. This is a team that has put a lot of runs up. They actually have they've played 10 playoff games so far. Only 2 of them have come down to 3 runs or less, right? So they're not playing a lot of close games. There's been some close games that people have pulled away from in the end, but we haven't seen really the high leverage pressure pitching moments from this bullpen. I think they can do it. They have guys who have shown that they can come up in these moments. We're talking about Ryan Presley. Christian Javier has turned into one of the best pitchers in baseball, a young kid. And then Kendall Graveman, who they traded for at the deadline. Like they have guys, we just haven't seen it yet in the playoffs. And a Braves team that is super hot right now, they're going to test these guys, especially playing at a ballpark like Minute Maid, where it's very easy to score runs there, right? One mistake, and there's a short porch in right, and then there's the short and left with the extended wall. So I'm looking at the Astros bullpen here. I'm not saying that they need to be shut down stellar like we've seen from the Braves so far, but they're going to have to be able to back up these starters because the Astros are also in a position with their starters where come game 4, they're probably going to have a bullpen game. They're probably going to start Christian Javier and put him out there for 3 innings, try to get 3 to 4 innings out of him. But they're going to have to rely on that bullpen because the starter depth, as good as those guys are at the top, they don't have a ton of depth. So I'm looking at the bullpen here. I think that they're going to be okay. I think that they're a good bullpen. I just haven't seen the high leverage moments from these guys in these playoffs yet. So definitely looking for that from the Astros.
Yeah, so it definitely looks like pitching is going to be the key, especially bullpen pitching is going to be key for the Astros. How about the Braves? What's the most important, or what are some of the keys to victory for the Braves in this series?
Yeah, I think the Braves are kind of on the opposite side of this. We've seen teams come into these playoffs. You think about Boston, right? And Boston, they beat the Yankees, and then they beat the Rays, and then they go up 2-1 on Houston. And how do they do it? They have these hot bats, right? They're hot, hot, hot. They're putting up 8, 7 runs over and over and over again. What we've seen historically from teams in the playoffs is that can only last for so long, right? And then the bats go cold, especially a team that wasn't exactly the hottest bats in the regular season. And they're missing arguably their best player in Ronald Acuna Jr. But these guys have stepped up all postseason. Jock Peterson has kind of been a little bit transcendent here with the pearls. He calls himself a bad bitch. He's drinking wine after the games. He's kind of like become everyone's favorite player in these playoffs, and everyone's going to be cheering for him against the Astros probably. But there is a bit of a dilemma with where exactly everyone goes in Turner Field in Atlanta, because you have a guy like Jorge Soler, you have Eddie Rosario. Who's the DH? Who's playing where? This is another problem for the Astros, right? Where they have Jordan Alvarez and they also have Michael Brantley, who both primarily play left field, and you have Alvarez usually DHing in their home ballpark. In this week, in the World Series where you have this, some games are DH, some games there's no DH. You kind of have to figure that stuff out. It's a new challenge for the managers. So what do the Astros do? Do they put Jordan Alvarez in left field? If they do, you need to be able to take advantage of that if you're the Braves, because he's not a good defender. I mean, he's a bigger guy, right? And it's a big left field in that ballpark. It's not easy to play left field there. So you have to be able to take advantage of it. And then kind of, on the flip side of what I said was the key for the Astros, another key for the Braves is going to be to actually make Houston use that bullpen. And you do that by taking pitches and being patient, something that this Braves team doesn't really like to do. They often swing early in the count. And when you're hot and when you're confident, that makes sense, right? You do that a lot. But I think if they want to win a 7-game series here, it's going to have to go for the long haul for the Braves to win. I think I don't see them sweeping the Astros here, winning in 5 against this good of an Astros team. So it's going to have to go deep in the series, and that helps you if you're the Braves. It plays out better if you make them work into that bullpen, get through these starters as quick as you can, make them use 15, 20 pitches an inning to where you're seeing your ninth guy by the third game. If you can knock some of these guys out, then we talked about Houston having a bullpen game in game 4. It becomes that much more difficult when you've already used all of these arms, and maybe you're relying on some guys who you didn't plan on if you're Houston. So Atlanta's going to have to stay hot. They've got the pitching. Charlie Morton going tonight, former Pirate, who somehow in his old age now twice as good as he was with the Pirates, and he's got a 96 mile per hour fastball out of nowhere when he's 38 years old. I don't know how that happens, but they've got great starters. Max Fried has come up clutch in these playoffs as well. Ian Anderson, same story. But I'm looking at these bats, and can they stay hot is the question for the Braves.
All right, so you guys heard it here first from our resident MLB analyst, Mike Badzik. Pitching key for the Braves, bullpen pitching, and can the bat stay hot? For the Braves, can the bat stay hot?
Yeah.
That leads us right into it, man. Who you got in the series? Game 1's tonight, so give us a Game 1 prediction, and then who you got in the series.
So Game 1 tonight, I'm going to go with Houston in Game 1. I know that Charlie Morton is going to pitch probably a good game tonight, but Valdez going for Houston, something he does really well. He pitches well against players and teams who want to get the ball in the air, right? Who are very home run dependent. He does not give up a lot of home runs. And I think he pitches a good game tonight. A lot of pressure on a younger guy to do this against a veteran, Charlie Morton, who's been there before. But I like Houston tonight to win. I think it's going to be a good game. I think all these games are going to be close. This has actually been one of the best baseball playoffs that I can remember. It's really been exciting and good if you're a baseball fan. So I've got Houston tonight, and I've got Houston in the series. I think it goes 6, and I hope it goes 7, but I think it goes 6. Every game going to be close, but again, that Houston bullpen is going to have to show up, especially in Game 4 and Game 5 when they're in Atlanta. Can they show up, and can the defense hold up in that big ballpark with some of these fielding questions? So I like Houston. I just think they're the better team. When you look at that lineup, it's just too much sometimes. And I love this story of Atlanta. I think it's one of the best stories. Actually, the Braves manager's son is actually the hitting coach for Houston. So there is some interesting storylines. Hank Aaron, who died over the summer? He died. He was like best friends with Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker vowed, he wanted to win this World Series for his late dear friend Hank Aaron. Well, now he's actually playing against Hank Aaron's former team, the Braves. So we've got some interesting stuff going on. I think it's going to be a very compelling series. I'll definitely be tuned in. I got Houston tonight, and I got Houston winning this World Series in 6 games.
There you have it. Looks like the Astros have a strong chance at winning this one against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah.
So that concludes our MLB discussion. I will be tuning into this World Series. It's been a while since I've gotten really deep into baseball, but I'm going to be tuning in. So
playoff baseball is, I will say, a lot of people say baseball is boring. A regular season, it can run on, but there is really nothing like playoff baseball when every pitch matters. Especially, I like it when they're playing in the cold. They're not going to have that this year with Houston and Atlanta, but every pitch matters. The World Series, and the fans are going to be going crazy. So it's going to be fun. So, and I'm definitely cheering for Atlanta as well. I'll be cheering for Atlanta. I'm not going to cheer for Houston.
Absolutely. All right. So before we get into our NFL talk, make sure you guys are checking out some of the new content that we have available. We have our All In Politics episode out now. They just had a Philly radio legend, Lisa Fairfax, joined their last episode talking about the weaponization of Black music and radio. It's a real great podcast. She dropped a ton of gems on that episode. So definitely want to check that out. You can go to podpage.com /all-in-politics to find their episode. It was an audio only, so you can find all the platforms to listen to on there. You guys can also check out my recent Sixers article. I've started a Sixers beat, so I'll be doing a few articles a week about the Sixers, so game recaps, weekly recaps, things like that. So my first one was a week one recap for the Sixers and a little preview into week 2. They got a solid win against the Thunder, and then they play again tonight against the Knicks. So you can check that article out on podpage.com/allinpodcast and be ready for my weekly NFL power rankings, which will be coming out tomorrow as well.
Yeah, check all that out. It's going to be exciting. And now let's transition. I'll take the host hat from you as we transition to the NFL conversation, part 2 of this Potapalooza, right? This 3-part we're doing.
I like it.
We want to do some NFL. We really want to talk about your team, the Eagles. Dropped to 2-5. They lose to the Raiders. Not a bad team, right? No, it's not like they lost to the Lions. The Raiders have been pretty good this year. But the Eagles lose. They dropped to 2-5. So go ahead and give us your thoughts of this Eagles team right now as a whole, where they stand, and then also Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I thought we came out strong. I thought the first drive was everything it needed to be. Yeah. We came out, we ran the football. Miles Sanders, got a bunch of chunk gains on the ground, and that set up play action. We got a big throw to Dallas Goedert over the middle. They get down into the red zone. They find Gainwell underneath, and he runs in for a touchdown. It was everything you could possibly ask for. There's no RPOs. There were no random screen passes that we've seen from the Eagles offense. It looked like basic run the ball, playoff play action type football, and it was an efficient, great drive. Nothing of that nature lasted for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
It was another sloppy performance offensively. And this was a tough secondary. This is a decent Raiders team. So, actually, in a really tough secondary, they're actually top 10 in the league in passing yards allowed. But the opportunity to beat this team was actually on the ground. And again, I don't think we ran the ball enough. This was the type of game where it should have been runs on first and second down and then throw on third, type of situation, at least for the entire first half. And then also, the Eagles defensively were not good. And Derek Carr has been hot for all but 2 games this year. But, our secondary has actually been pretty good. And the receivers weren't the ones lighting us up. It was a lot of over the middle stuff. Hunter Renfrow in the slot killed us. And Foster Moreau had an excellent game. So they really attacked our linebackers a lot in this one. And, the Eagles played this kind of too high safety look, lots of man-to-man coverage, and or a little bit and with a mixture of zone coverage. And our linebackers, where we spend the least amount of money based on any other position in the NFL, is exposed in the type of defense that we play. And Derek Carr took advantage. They controlled the time of possession. I think at one point they had the ball for about 18 minutes of the first half in the first half compared to under 6 minutes for us. He had 16 straight completions. So he had a pick in the red zone. He went 4 for 4, threw a pick in the red zone to Avonte Maddox, and then went 16 for 16 after that. And had a couple of touchdowns, and it was just there was nothing that we could do to stop the pass. So I was kind of prepared for. The Raiders' offense has looked really good, especially without John Gruden. I think it's looked even better without John Gruden. But I'm disappointed in the offense. Jalen Hurts was okay again. You know what I mean? I didn't think he was terrible. He had a bad fumble in the red zone. Game was a little bit out of hand by the time that happened. I didn't think he was bad. He didn't turn the ball over. But there's times where he's a little bit inaccurate. Just for example, the one I can think of off the top of my head, it was mid-second quarter play action or RPO. Not 100% sure which one it was. And he's looking for Devontae Smith on a slant route, and he's open. He's got a step on the defender, but the ball's behind him. It's not a bad throw, and it's a catchable ball, but the ball's here, down by the hip and behind him, and defender gets back into the play, obviously, because you put it in a position where he can get to it, and maybe it's a ball. If Smith's a little bit stronger, he can rip away. That's a lot to ask, to be quite honest. But it's the defender gets in, gets his hand on it, and knocks it loose. And those are the kind of things where that keeps you from moving the chains. That forces punts,
Sure.
and when your defense can't get a stop, that makes it difficult. It digs you quite a hole. Late in the game, he was able to put some things together and make the score a little bit more respectable. I think the final score was 33-22, and it really wasn't that close for most of the game, if we're being really honest. And that's typically what the Eagles have been. It's been either a slow start or a quick fast start, a lull, and then a strong finish. There just hasn't been enough consistency offensively. That's why we're sitting at 2-5. And to be quite honest, I'm very nervous about the Lions next week. Like, that sounds ridiculous because the Lions are 0-7 now, right? 6. I don't think they've had did they have a bye week?
Oh no, is it 7? Wow.
Yeah, I think it's 0-7 now. If they haven't had their bye week, but I'm almost certain that we're going to lose next week because the Lions, despite being 0-7, have been consistent in giving everyone a tough game. Yeah. They've given everyone a tough game that they've played. So I don't really have a ton of faith, and I think I actually am going to pick the Lions in that matchup. It's bad. Nick Sirianni is a terrible play caller. I mean, he might be the worst in the league. If I'm being honest.
And it's how fast he's fallen from grace.
It's crazy because I don't see the offense that we saw week 1 against Atlanta, with the complex route combinations and things like that. Like, everything now is RPO, screens. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know if he doesn't think Jalen Hurts can throw 10 yards down the field, if he, or if he just loves this style of play. I don't know. Jalen Hurts hasn't shown me anything that he can't push the ball down the field or anything like that. He's actually been pretty decent, I would say, on the deep ball at times. So I really don't understand it. I don't understand our aversion to running the ball. And with Miles Sanders now probably out next week, I'm not sure. Maybe he thinks Kenneth Gainwell might be a better runner and give him some more touches. I don't see that happening, but I don't know. I can't figure it out. This offense is a little perplexing to me in terms of the play calling and things like that. But it is what it is for the Eagles right now. It's also been a tough schedule. Every team we've played so far is above 500, except for the Niners, who shockingly lost to the Colts this week. And now the Panthers are
not shocking. I picked that.
You did pick that, yeah. But I believe the Panthers just fell to 3-4 too because they've lost 4 straight now.
Panthers kind of suck.
Yeah, and they were 3-1 when they played us. So it's been pretty tough so far for the Eagles. Maybe they can get things turned around with a little bit lighter of a schedule with the Lions coming up. Who knows? Yeah, as Jalen Hurts says, the rent is due.
Are you rocking with Hurts? Is there anything that could happen this year to where you're like, let's see what we got in? I think because they traded Flacco, right?
They did just trade Flacco to the Jets, yes.
Yeah. So now we're looking at a Minshew backup. Is there any scenario where you're like, let's see what we got in Minshew?
No, not really. We know what Minshew is. I think, we're only 11 starts into Jalen Hurts' career, and he's very young. He was already raw, if we're being quite honest. So, anyone who is expecting Jalen Hurts to just, other than from a fantasy perspective, to light it up this year, I think you had unrealistic expectations. If that was what you thought, it was going to be an up and down season for him. That's just, the expectation. And I don't think Nick Sirianni has helped in any way, shape, or form. But he still accounts, coming into this week's game, he still accounted for 87% of our total yards. So a lot of times he's bailed us out and kept us alive with his legs, and which is kind of what we expected. Sure. I would like to see them utilize that portion of his game even more, rather than waiting until the end of the game to get him outside of the pocket or get these designed runs that they have for him and things like that. For some reason, we wait until we're down 20 to start doing those things. But overall, I give him as an actual NFL quarterback, I give him like a C plus.
Yeah.
So um, uh, here's where we're at as far as Jalen Hurts going forward. I think we're still in evaluation period. I would say maybe put some pressure on Sirianni to give up play calling and see if that helps at all. And then
Well,
you
you might
got
as well fire him then, right? Because wasn't he hired as a play caller?
well, yeah. I mean, he was the Colts offensive coordinator, which I didn't think the Colts offense was super great. I mean, I know they had Philip Rivers, who was
They just want
obviously in
that
his last
Andy
year of
Reid
his career.
coaching tree, Frank
Yeah,
Reich.
yeah, you know what I
Oh,
mean. Like
yeah,
it's
they want that.
yeah, we're deep in the Andy Reid coaching tree now, though. Like we're not even talking the enemy who's
Right.
working directly under him. We're talking like descendants of Andy Reid at this point with Nick Sirianni. And to me, if you fired Andy Reid or let him go, why would you continue to? And then Doug Peterson was an Andy Reid coach. So why are we so concerned about why did we fire Doug Peterson if we just wanted to hire guys from that same coaching tree? It doesn't really make all that much sense. You could have kept Doug for all that, who won a Super Bowl. But I mean, in terms of Sirianni, I'm not sure he makes it past this year with the way he's been coaching. Now, Howie Roseman's an idiot, so maybe he does. He probably does. So you can't really rule that out. I don't actually expect him to get fired, but there's going to be a ton of pressure on him to be fired because he has not been good so far early on. But back to Hurts.
Yeah.
We've got 3 first-round picks. 2 of them are going to be in the top 10, ours and the Dolphins. Maybe even the Colts. I think they're sitting at 3 and 4, but they have a little bit tougher of a schedule coming up.
Wentz has not been that bad lately, actually. Wentz has been playing okay.
Yeah, favorable matchups.
He does dumb stuff, but he's been playing okay.
He does, yeah. And he's him and Jalen Hurts aren't the problem. You know what I mean? That's where I think a lot of Philly fans get caught up in. It's so easy to blame the quarterback and evaluate the quarterback. And it's and I said this last year, while Carson Wentz was terrible and I did think we needed to move on from him, he was not the only issue for this team. And we're seeing it with Jalen Hurts. You know what I mean? Jalen Hurts is not the only issue. Our offensive line is still banged up. Right. Our linebacker position is terrible. Brandon Graham's out, so that doesn't help. You know what I mean? And then the play calling is bad. And all of those things existed last year as well. But for Hurts, we do have 3 top 10 picks. I'm assuming the Colts will fall into top 12-ish. So I'm going to say 3 top 12 picks probably by the end of the year. Maybe if Watson's name gets cleared, maybe you're looking there. But other than that, I think, yeah, yes. And other than that, those 2 options, I don't love this QB class. So I'm not sold that we're going to end up finding someone that is immediately going to be better than Hurts or projects long-term better than Hurts. Spencer Rattler's been disappointing. He was one of the top QB names. He hasn't really been great for Oklahoma.
Benched.
Benched. Clemson's QB, I'm not even going to attempt to say his last name, has been a little underwhelming. So it's there's a it's a crapshoot for this year's QB class. I don't think it's really
my guy's the best one. Kenny Pickett from Pitt. He somehow jumped everybody. He's the only one playing well this year.
Yeah, he's been great. So but with his stock rising, unless Miami, loses out for the rest of the year, because I don't think we're going to end up with the number 1 pick. He could, people reach on quarterbacks all the time. He could very well find himself as the number 1 overall pick. So unless we package to move up, you know what I mean? And because the Lions might have the number 1 pick, and I don't know how sold they are on Jared Goff, but you just traded for him. So, right. Not sure they're taking a QB. Maybe they'll want to move back. That's the only scenarios I could really think of. Other than that, I think Jalen Hurts by default might get himself a second year as a starter, and maybe a little bit longer of an evaluation period. But I do think he needs to improve to kind of solidify the Eagles, to keep the Eagles from looking at other QB options. Even if they're bad, at least get it to the point where we're not bad because Jalen Hurts, right. Kind of situation. And I'm thinking when the schedule gets easier, maybe that's how we'll start to view him or if something changes with who's calling the plays, maybe that happens. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, it's. I mean, the thing with Hurts is like he's the same quarterback right now that he was at Alabama and Oklahoma. It's the same stuff. He does well in the same type of situations. He's still not great at figuring out what the defense is doing, which is what they said out of college, and it's kind of come true. But he's young, right? So we're going to give him time on that.
Right.
So I agree. I would stick with Hurts throughout the remainder of the year. I don't think it's worth. It's not like Minshew's going to come in and win you the division. And if you're going to go down this road, you might as well see everything you can of Jalen Hurts before you have to make this decision about a quarterback next round. So yeah, rough for the Eagles, man. That's so I will say my Steelers didn't play this week, so we're not going to do much more NFL stuff. But the winning streak that I predicted has started. We're on win number 2. So we got a 2-game win streak. We're going to keep it going, man. And we win this week. We're to the moon, bro. To the moon. So I can't wait till that comes. I'm going to be talking all kinds of shit on this podcast. All right, let's do our week 8 pick'em. We've been doing pick'ems. We haven't done every week, but we've done a lot of weeks. Do you have the standings on hand or no?
Well, it's still the same as last time because we did not do a week 7. We did a basketball episode last week. So we didn't do week 7. So we're still in the same spot.
Okay. All right. And we are recording on a Tuesday, so we can pick the Thursday night game. We will start Packers at Cardinals. Looking like Devontae Adams might miss this one.
Not only Devontae Adams, but alert I got just before the show was Alan Lazard was added to that same list. So there's a possibility that MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, returns from IR, could be in store for a big week. Maybe we see a lot more Robert Tonyan as well. Aaron Rodgers has been great.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. And it's really hard to pick against him when he's this hot.
Yeah.
However.
Dramatic effect.
Give me the Cardinals, man. They're 7-0. They're 7-0. And they're demolishing everybody. It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's not even close. And if I'm being quite honest, even if Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard were healthy, I'm taking the Cardinals. This team is the best in the league. I'm saying it. I mean, they have an endless amount of weapons. They have so many weapons that DeAndre Hopkins' his target share is down like 9% from last year. 9%. And, for fantasy managers, they're pulling their hair out. But,
he's still.
I don't think anyone. He's still been productive by all means. But, you can't even key on him anymore. Because Rondale Moore's so explosive. You got A.J. Green on the outside, on the other side. You got Christian Kirk in the slot. Then they added Zach Ertz, and they used him right away. Gets a big long touchdown. I was so happy to see it. I was so happy to see that. I love that guy. But, now they got Zach Ertz. They've got a decent, very good running game. James Conner gives them, the bruiser, and then you kind of have, the satellite back role for Chase Edmonds, who's really good at that. And, we've talked about Kyler Murray enough on this podcast, but I'm not sure that we really give him his just due. I think he's the front runner for MVP. Him and Derrick Henry are like neck and neck, if you ask me. But they're 7-0, so he gets a nod from me. And not only that, but I think when we're talking in that discussion of best quarterbacks, not only right now, but for the next 10 years, Kyler Murray's up there with Pat Mahomes.
He's got to be.
He's got to be up there with Pat Mahomes now. He's
Josh Allen.
Yeah. Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, and I
Herbert.
throw just Herbert. And we might disagree, but I'm throwing Lamar Jackson in there too. He's been great this year. Despite their loss to the Bengals, those 5 guys are in a tier of their own when we're projecting forward as far as the quarterback spot in this league. So give me some Cardinals this week, man, on Thursday night for sure.
I'm going to go with the Packers. I don't think that the Cardinals' undefeated streak can last. Aaron Rodgers as a 6.5-point dog. That just smells like it's going to piss him off, man.
I am going to take the Packers against the spread, though. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. But I think it is going to be tough, though, without Devontae Adams.
You know what? I'm actually going to go with the Cardinals. No Devontae Adams. No Devontae Adams is too much. Like, and I'm thinking back now to times when we've seen Rodgers without his number one guy, and it is more difficult. And especially if you
Yeah.
lose Lazard too. Like, that's just gonna be tough. So give me the Cardinals. I know I switched it up on you guys, but that Devontae piece is a lot.
And it's not even like a lot of teams, without or like Aaron Rodgers, I think is a good quarterback without his number one. But
yeah,
Devontae Adams takes so much of his
yes,
target share that and then Lazard started to pick it up like the last 2 weeks, and now he's out. You're talking like MVS coming off of injury. We're gonna give him 10 plus targets.
Randall
That's tough.
Cobb. I don't know.
Right. Who's been streaky, you know what I mean? He's a little bit of a gadget player out of the slot. Like that's going to be tough against the Cardinals defense that's been excellent.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We both take the Cardinals. Let's move on. I'm gonna just not go straight down the list this time. I'm gonna try to do it better matchups first,
Okay.
which is hard because there's not a ton of great matchups this week.
Yeah, right.
Well, let's go to my team because they have a big game this week. They're
They
at
do.
the Steelers at the Browns. Baker Mayfield is questionable. Nick Chubb is questionable. So we don't know exactly what Browns team we're going to get. It's why it's hard to pick these games on Tuesday.
Right.
But Steelers Browns, what do you think?
Man, I'm really torn on this one because of all the injuries for Cleveland, and even a couple of injuries up front on their offensive line, which I think is the biggest key.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Baker's not going to go in this one though.
Okay.
And I absolutely love the idea of the Steelers defense against Case Keenum.
Oh,
So, and
boner alert.
even if Baker plays, and a hurt Baker Mayfield doesn't intrigue me. So I'm going to take the Steelers here, even though it's on the road.
Yeah.
Tough matchup. I think Nick Chubb absolutely has to play for them to even have a chance, and he has to not only play but like be healthy, like Nick Chubb, because I see this passing game struggling a lot this week. But I'm going to take the Steelers. I think you might have been onto something with this win streak thing, man. And if they get past this one, we could really be talking. Give me the Steelers. They're
Let's
trending up, and the
go.
Browns are trending down. I typically go with the teams trending up.
Did you know Big Ben has never lost in Cleveland?
Yeah, so more stats as to
Nah.
why, more reasons as to why you should pick the Steelers.
And we're not a numbers pod. We're not a stats pod.
We're really not, yeah.
But I like that one, right? Big Ben has never lost in Cleveland. He's only lost in since he won. He loves Ohio, right? He's from Ohio. He loves Ohio.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. And I think even if Baker Mayfield does play, one, he's not very good anyway. And we're going to see a 60 to 75% version of that if he does play.
Yeah,
so
right.
no Chubb is going to hurt a lot as well. If he can't go, I like the Steelers defense, man. I can't see, especially a Case Keenum led Browns team scoring more than 17. They're going to flood that box on him. That's what she said. And it's going to be really tough. It's going to be really tough for him. So I got the Steelers, man. I think the win streak keeps on going. All right. So let's move on then. How about this one? Divisional matchup. We've got the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers going to the kind of sneakily 4-2 Saints. I didn't realize that they were actually doing that well this year.
Yeah, like 3 of their 4 wins are pretty ugly.
Yeah.
The one not ugly win was obviously week 1 against the Packers. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bucs here, but I'm not super confident in that pick. This Saints defense is for real. Marshawn Lattimore has Mike Evans' number as well, so
Yes,
that doesn't bode well. I think Antonio Brown is going to need to be healthy for this one. Now they have a number of weapons, but I think they're going to need all the weapons they can get against the Saints defense. I think if Antonio Brown's healthy, then I feel a little bit more confident about my pick. But yeah, give me the Buccaneers this week in a close one.
Yeah, I think I've got the Buccaneers as well. Do you remember last year when the Bucs and Saints played? At about this time of year, the Saints absolutely crushed them, and people kind of wrote the Bucs off at that point, and then that's when they kind of turned things around. I don't think that they forgot about that loss, and I think that they really want this one at the Saints. So I got the Bucs as well. Although the Jameis game.
Yeah, revenge game for Jameis. Although he has not looked great.
He's not great. He's not good, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. We'll both take the Bucks. How about Patriots at Chargers?
Give me the Chargers here. I've talked about it a number of times on this podcast. The East Coast to West Coast trip is generally pretty tough on either team, and I think the biggest example that we saw it was when the Chargers went to Baltimore and lost pretty badly there. Really underperformed. Coming off the bye, I think they'll get a little bit more rested up, a little healthier. Mike Williams was a little banged up, right, coming into the Baltimore game. So I think that week off will let them get a little bit healthy and get them back on track with a win against a Patriots team that's going to put up a good fight. But the Chargers are the better team here. Give me Los Angeles.
I got San Diego as well. The Patriots aren't that good. 2 of their 3 wins are against the Jets. So I'm not giving them any credit. I'm not giving them any credit until they do something better than that. So we'll both take the Chargers. We are still the same. Okay, this is the last decent game of the day games, and it's the Titans at the Colts. Titans coming off a huge win.
Yeah, and 2 huge wins, if we're being honest. They just beat the Chiefs and they beat the Bills on Monday night the week before. So, the Titans are strange, aren't they? Like they lost to the Jets earlier this year. And then come out and beat the Bills and the Chiefs in back-to-back weeks.
So strange.
Yeah, right? So this is a tough one. The Colts have been hot a little bit too, but mostly against bad teams. Give me the Titans. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a field day running all over this Colts defense. Give me the Titans. They're rolling right now.
I'm going to take the Colts as a home dog. I like the way this team has been playing the past couple of weeks. Titans coming off 2 back-to-back highs. Time for a letdown, I think. Colts must-win game, right? If they lose this, they're pretty much done. They go to 3-5, and the Titans go to 6-2, the division, and they lose their home game against them. So I think it's a Colts going all-out must-win game. I got the Colts, man. I'm not ready to give up on your boy Carson Wentz. So, all right, let's start moving down the slate. We've also got Panthers at Falcons. Sam Darnold will be starting, correct?
Yeah, I think so. He got pulled this week for PJ Walker, but I like
PJ Walker, man. He's a good backup.
I do like PJ Walker as well. They get a little favorable matchup here this week. I know the Falcons are actually kind of hot back at 500, but they've beaten bad teams. They're another one of their 3 wins. They beat the Jets. And then they beat the lowly Dolphins last week. So I'm not sold on that. And the Giants were their 3rd win, I think. So none of those wins impress me. Despite how bad the Panthers have been without Christian McCaffrey, this is a get right game for them. So give me the Panthers here.
I want the Falcons here. I think the Panthers are kind of a little bit shaky here. Might be a mess. Benched quarterback last week and come back, And I don't think Sam Darnold is the type to have a strong bounce back from something like that. He's not one of these guys. It's like, oh yeah, I got benched. Let me come out and prove that shouldn't be benched. Well, I don't think he's that good. So I got the Falcons. At home.
Let's talk about Darnold a little bit because the Panthers didn't give up much, right? To trade for him. It was kind of like, we're not going to wage our future on him. And we're also not going to commit to him for the future. I don't think the Panthers are sold that he's their franchise guy. Mm-hmm. So after the last 4 weeks here and his struggles, do they look to move on from him in the offseason? Are they drafting a QB?
Deshaun Watson, they're suddenly the favorite in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes.
Yeah, right? I can only imagine Deshaun Watson with these weapons. That would be an offense that I think would be pretty scary.
Yeah, he would be assaulting defenses. Bro.
You just can't help yourself.
Yeah, he would. Would he not be? Would he not be assaulting? Wrong verb. Okay. Moving on. Dolphins at the Bills. I think we both got the Bills.
Yeah, give me the Bills by 1 million.
Yeah, 13.5 point line. That's a big line.
I'm going to take that line too. The Dolphins are terrible.
Niners at Bears. This is kind of an interesting one.
It is. the Niners are like shockingly 2-4. Their record almost doesn't make sense to me. Bears at home
Yeah.
though. Give me the Bears at home. Like I would love to see Matt Nagy uh, somehow find out that Justin Fields runs a 4-4 and do something to give him
Right.
some extra protection so he's not getting battered in the backfield. But um, I don't know what it is about this Niners team. Like for some reason, it's all runs and Debo Samuel. Like Ayuk doesn't even exist anymore, which is
Mm-hmm.
strange. And they're really sold on Jimmy Garoppolo being their guy. And I don't trust this offense. I think when they have to throw, they can't.
Yeah.
And neither can the Bears. But I think the Bears have a little bit better of a defense. So give me Chicago at home.
I'm with you. I'm with everything you just said. I think are we off the Kyle Shanahan thing? Like, has that ship sailed?
I was never a huge
Yeah.
believer in him. Like, I don't think he's a bad coach. I mean, he's no Nick Sirianni, but like, I was never like, I never thought he was like, Andy Reid
Right.
or McVay like type of coach. Like, I always thought he was
He
just
got he
kind of
got put up there with those guys when they were
exactly, and like, hey, he's good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, at least he knows how to run the football.
does not
I'd
have
take him in. I'd take him in Philly, but like.
Hmm.
Yeah, I never saw the genius of Kyle Shanahan that other people saw.
Yeah, me either. Okay. How about Eagles Lions? You kind of alluded to this one.
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm
Okay.
going to put myself in a win-win situation. I'm going to pick the Lions. I'm
Smart.
going to bet on the Lions
Oh
so
wow.
that if the Eagles win, I'll be happy, and if they lose, I'll be happy. So yeah, listen, but no, in all seriousness, Dan Campbell has this team competing week in, week out against the toughest of teams, let
Yeah.
alone the Eagles. They're due for a win eventually, and I think this is the week. Struggling Eagles team coming into Detroit. Give me the Lions.
I think that they are also due for a win. They've been fighting, man, and they're due for a win, but they're the Lions, so they're not going to get the win that they're due for. Eagles. Eagles. Eagles.
And
All
then
right.
I'm going to come back on this podcast and talk about how great Jalen Hurts is after he beats the lowly
I cannot wait. All right. Bengals at Jets. How about them Bengals, man? How
How
about them
about them
Bengals?
Bengals? Are we believers yet? I'm in on the Bengals, like as a playoff team.
They're frisky. They're gonna
I
make the
think
playoffs, I think.
that defense is better
Well,
than
they're about to be
expected.
6-2, right? We both got them against the Jets. They're gonna be 6-2.
Yeah, I think they might win the division.
We're about to win 10 games in a row, bro. So
Okay, all right.
I think the Steelers still got it. All right, Rams at Texans. 14.5 point line on this one.
And give me all 14 and a half points on the
Man,
Rams.
that is crazy. Okay. Jags at Seahawks. Seahawks season is pretty much over now with Geno Smith.
Yeah, but and as bad as it's been, it's like, do you still trust? Do you trust the Jags? Like, I know they got to win, but like the Dolphins suck. So like,
No.
I'm still gonna take the Seahawks. Like, I for whatever reason, like I think Alex Collins might have a big game running the ball. And I think they're gonna have to open things up a little bit for Geno. Give me the Seahawks reluctantly.
And you said Geno, right? As in Geno Smith is going to be starting this game for the Seahawks?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the Jags in this one on the road. Always fade Geno Smith. Okay, the Washington football team is in Denver.
Yeah, Denver is another team like the Panthers who started 3-0 and lost 4 straight. So we've been having this debate
Yes, sir.
about Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Darnold. Turns out neither of them are
They
good.
both suck, though, which we knew. Which we knew.
we did know. Yeah, we do. Yeah. So, but Washington's defense is so bad that I'm going to take the Broncos here at home.
Yeah.
They get Jerry Jeudy back this week, so I think things get a little bit better for the Broncos. They also they run the ball well, so I think that helps. Give me the Broncos at home, the get right game for them.
Yeah, I got the Broncos as well. All right, let's go to the Sunday night game, which is Cowboys at Vikings. Cowboys look like one of the best teams in the league.
They do, but guess what? This Vikings team is a little underrated.
I agree.
They're sitting at 3-3, but one of those losses was a terrible, terrible miss against by their kicker against the Cardinals. That should have been a win for them.
Yeah.
And at home, I actually think this is a decent matchup for them. Like, I think Dalvin Cook has a big game. Kirk Cousins has been pretty good, although primetime games, as we know, have not been good to Kirk Cousins.
True.
But I have a lot of faith. I think Dalvin Cook has a breakout, huge monster game here. And at home, they get a win. I think they upset the Cowboys Sunday night.
I'm with you, man. This was going to be an upset pick for me, but you took the words right out of my mouth. So I got the Vikings as well. I'm still not a believer in this Cowboys defense, especially on the road.
Yeah.
Minnesota's a tough place to play in that dome, and they're going to be rocking on Sunday night.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Monday night, Giants are in KC. Is this a get-right game for the Chiefs?
It is, only because the Giants are so bad. Like, I think if Saquon Barkley was playing, I'd think twice about this. Because that Chiefs defense is god awful. I mean, it's so bad to where, like, if Saquon was playing, I think I'd have, and if I knew Kadarius Toney was playing, and Sterling Shepard was playing, then I actually think the Giants would be a sneaky upset pick there. But I am going to take the Chiefs. They're a 10-point favorite, though. I don't have any faith in that.
10-point favorite.
I don't know. I don't have any.
You see what happened because
favorite.
I want to explain this to our listeners why there's these crazy lines this week. If you guys look at the slate so far this season, the favorites have been killing it. They've been winning. Teases have been destroying Vegas, right? So teases when you pick 3 or 4 teams, and you bring their line up or down, whichever way you want to go. And they all have to win. So basically, people are taking favorites, teasing them. They have been killing Vegas, right? So Vegas looked at it this week and said, all right, tease this. And they made the lines 14 points, basically, is what happened here. So we're kind of in a tough position with our teases.
Yeah. My brother Kyle, the author of the All In Bets and DFS blog, and my dad were talking about that in our little family group chat that Vegas is not very happy with all the money they've been losing. So, yeah, definitely why you're seeing these crazy lines.
Yeah. So, okay. That's our pick'em for the week. We'll let you guys know next week how we did and who took the lead in the standings, who came from behind and took the lead in the standings. All right, we're not done yet. We are now at part 3 of this Potapalooza, on to really our first and true love, which is NBA basketball. We're not going to dive into everything, but we want to do some overreactions or maybe underreactions. Should we be overreacting? We got 4 teams that we want to talk about. Yes. First one has to be the Lakers. Of course, they've struggled. They're 1-2 so far. I'll let you take the floor on what's going on with these guys. And do you think it's an overreaction? Are they truly a mess?
It is an overreaction, but only because I expected this. I expected a slow start from them. They're old.
Yeah.
They have a lot of moving pieces, so chemistry, and a lot of those moving pieces don't necessarily fit together. Russell Westbrook, their starting lineup has been Russell Westbrook, Kent Bazemore, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and DeAndre Jordan. That's the starting 5 the Lakers have been rolling out, and somehow expecting to get wins. Listen, I don't know who told Frank Vogel that 90s basketball still worked in today's NBA, but this Twin Towers with a bruising small forward and point guard is not the type of lineup that's going to cut it. That's why they're struggling. I had a feeling because Anthony Davis has some kind of aversion to playing the center position for whatever reason. He does not want to play the 5, and it forces Frank Vogel to throw out these terrible lineups. This is the result. They're sitting at 1-2 to start the season. They play tonight, and have a pretty easy game. I forget who they play tonight, but they got a pretty easy game tonight. But nothing's been easy for them. The offense has looked bad because they don't have any shooting and they don't have any spacing. Defensively, name one person on that perimeter that really is considered a stopper. You know what I mean? Like, Russell Westbrook's not a defensive stopper. He's actually pretty bad on defense. Kent Bazemore has been kind of the guy that they've asked to put in that role, and he's going to give the effort. At the end of the day, he's not that kind of guy. LeBron's 37. 38. How old is LeBron now? I don't know. He's pushing 40. Like, you can't ask LeBron to guard everybody's best player,
Right.
and at that point, it's just like, um, you know, that's why you're seeing these struggles early on. So it is an overreaction for people who are like, oh, the Lakers are trash, or the Lakers aren't going to make the playoffs, like things like that you might be seeing right now are overreactions. They will figure it out eventually. AD will start to play more fives simply because they have to. I think we even might see Melo in the starting lineup. He had a big game. He actually saved them the other night from an embarrassing loss to the Grizzlies. John Morant was destroying them. And Melo gave him 28 off the bench and kind of saved them with big shots down the stretch. And like, honestly, he's going to have to be a starter for them to get the proper spacing to support guys like Russ and LeBron and AD. I think once that eventually happens, then things will start to turn around and get a little bit better for them. But yeah, it's going to be pretty ugly early on. We talked about this. I said that in the preview show that the first 10 to maybe 15 games were not going to be good for them, and that's what we're seeing so far.
Yeah. Well, I think it continues for the bulk of the regular season. That's why I was on the under. This lineup, man. I think I even mentioned Kent Bazemore by name. Like, how is he starting for a team that has title aspirations? It just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, like, why not Malik Monk?
Why not Malik Monk? Or like, they signed Avery Bradley like 2 days before the season started because they were like, oh, nobody plays defense here. Maybe we should get one person who does, and then they throw him out there and he tries to chase Steph Curry around. Doesn't work out. A little bit confusing on what they're going for here. I think, I agree with you. LeBron James and Anthony Davis, at some point, they're going to figure it out. Westbrook is not as bad as he's played so far. He's pretty bad, but he's not this bad, I don't think.
Yeah.
So I think that they figure it out, right? This isn't a team that's going to miss the playoffs. And really, with LeBron and AD, you just need to get in the playoffs, right? And actually, this team, you could argue, is actually built a little bit better for a playoff style, right? More half court, less spacing. That's probably what they're going for, I think. So I'm not overreacting either. It's just LeBron regular season stuff.
Yeah, Mike Clay, who's a ESPN fantasy analyst, has a saying: "Cream rises." Cream rises, which means talent eventually rises. The Lakers have talent. They have 3 perennial all-stars. They will eventually figure out. So cream rises, guys. Don't panic.
Okay. Let's go to the other title favorite. Do you watch John Oliver at all? Do you know when John Oliver does a segment and he just goes, cool? That's what I wanted to do. Cool. All right. That was great analogy. Cool. All right, so let's go to the other title contender before the year started, which is, of course, the Brooklyn Nets, who are without Kyrie Irving, still probably forever. I'm assuming. It doesn't seem like he's going to change his mind about things. But they're 2-2. It hasn't been terrible, but they haven't looked great in spots.
Yeah. Just before I give some analysis. I don't think we're going to see Kyrie anytime soon either. Mm-hmm. He has become the right wing anti-vax poster child now, which
they love him. They love him now.
Which they do, but I don't think they understand that he does not love them back. Like, he's in the Nation of Islam. Like, he's the furthest thing from right.
And his statement was okay. Like, he came out and talked about it. Like, it wasn't like I don't think
he's not an anti-vaxxer. He's not an anti-vaxxer.
He doesn't want you to tell him what to do, which I don't hate that stance. It's not terrible.
Like, I'm not totally against that stance. Yeah. Would I give up a season of NBA basketball and possibly salary for it? Probably not. But
that actually makes it a little bit weirder for him. So it's like he's like, I'm not anti-vax, I'm anti-mandate. Well, it's like, okay, well, like, so you're gonna give up the season for a stance? I think it'd be more acceptable if he was like, I'm really worried about the vaccine. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, I'm nervous on the side effect. Like, if he said that, I'd be like, okay, like, he's actually worried about his health. He's like, no, like, you can't tell me what to do.
That's a wild thing to sit the season out for, knowing that your decision is going to have zero impact on that mandate. But yeah. But yeah, to give some actual analysis, which we know is what you guys tune in for.
Yes.
They'll be okay. The Nets, have there's going to be an adjustment of them like not playing without Kyrie. What they'll notice and what they are noticing is that they're actually going to have to play more defense because it's going to be hard for them to score 150 points without Kyrie.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to play a little bit more defense. Nick Claxton's been really good for them at the center spot. So that's been a positive. They got a good win last night. KD's actually been incredible to start the season. So don't hit the panic button on these guys too soon. They're obviously gonna have to learn how to adjust and play without Kyrie. They'll get right. I actually don't think they'll be as bad as the Lakers in the regular season, at least.
Yeah, I don't either. I think these guys are fine. Harden really is just now kicking it on, right?
Yeah.
He actually struggled a little bit. Obviously, cream rises, so he's gonna be better. And they're gonna be fine. I think I don't have any worries about them. I have less worries about them than I do the Lakers probably.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so let's go to two teams who maybe you could say are overreactions the other way on this spectrum. Two teams with hot starts, and we'll start with the Chicago Bulls, who were a topic of conversation in the offseason a lot, right? With some of the guys like Brandon Lonzo, DeMar DeRozan. After adding Vucevic last year, they've got this kind of fantasy team lineup, but man, they've been playing well, and the defense has been there. So what do you think of the Bulls so far?
Yeah, that's the most surprising part is the defense has been there. They got a tough test from your Raptors last night, who have looked pretty good, I would say,
I love them.
given the circumstances.
Scotty Barnes, Rookie of the Year. Actually,
he's
Scotty
nice.
Barnes, MVP. Okay, I'm joking.
No, but Scotty Barnes is the real deal. I actually really like his game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in on the Bulls. I was a little more bullish on them than you were in the preview episode. Do I think they're like top 5 in the East? No. Like they're probably in the 6 to 8 range, I think is probably where they will bottom out to. But Zach LaVine is an elite scorer, and he has continued to be an elite scorer to start the season. And I think DeRozan has really given him his first real second like go-to scorer. And like during the stretch last night, they went to DeRozan down the stretch against the Raptors. Like, I think he's a little bit better of an ISO player than Zach LaVine. Like Zach LaVine's really good, and Zach LaVine's a good ISO player. Don't get me wrong, but like Zach LaVine's really good in pick and rolls and things like that. But like from mid range in, DeMar DeRozan is so tough to stop. So like late in games, when you have two guys that you can go to that can get you a bucket, from almost anywhere on the floor, that bodes well. And Vucevic causes a lot of problems with his pick and pop abilities, when trying to guard these guys. And now Lonzo is a legitimate 3-point shooter. Ben Simmons, take notes.
Yeah.
Lonzo is a legitimate knockdown shooter. Patrick Williams gives them, their versatile, defender. And he can also knock down open shots when called upon. I like this Bulls team. They're a playoff team to me. I'm not going to overreact and think that they're a top 4 team or last year's Knicks. You know what I mean? Where the Knicks made that crazy run and finished top 4 or 5 in the East. I'm not sure that they're that good, but better than we might have given them credit for in the preseason.
Yeah, I agree. I actually like this Bulls team a little bit better than I did at the beginning of the year. I was probably, you're right. I was a little more out on them than you were. But, honestly, I think the biggest piece of this is Lonzo. I love Lonzo, man.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he is fun to watch. His passing, we knew about the passing, of course, but now he can shoot, and he plays good defense on the perimeter, right?
And he's such a good compliment for LaVine and DeRozan because he plays defense. He's knocking down open shots. He's kind of like Jason Kidd, not prime Jason Kidd, but like Dallas Mavericks championship run Jason Kidd, which
that was the comp coming out of the draft. It was like, who's his ceiling? It's like Jason Kidd-ish, right? And he didn't really show it because he wasn't aggressive enough, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that comp, and I like him. Like he's almost like, we always talk about like the problem of shoot first point guards, right? He's like the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
He actually like fits well with guys next to him. You can kind of, he's the guy you put with a scoring guard. So I like it. Levine, I was skeptical of him. I like the way his game is maturing, man. It's actually kind of cool to see a guy go from a raw athlete to then someone who can knock down shots and score off the dribble to now someone who is like kind of controlling the game on offense. Like it's actually been pretty impressive. Like I have to give him credit. And I don't like to say when I'm not giving guys enough credit or I was wrong about something, but man, I like his game a lot. It's only been 3 games. So I'm not going to say that they're be in the East Finals this year. I would agree with you that probably 5 to 8 is their range here.
Yeah.
Just because there's some really good teams in the East. The East is good this year.
Yeah.
But I like the Bulls. I like the Bulls, man. I'm glad that they're playing well and DeRozan's getting some love too. All right, last one. Let's go to your second team. We both have like 5 teams that we claim. But your second team, which is the Warriors, you did not pick Steph Curry for MVP this season. Do you regret it?
I'm sorry, Steph. I'll never disrespect you on this podcast again, King. I apologize. Why wouldn't I pick you for MVP? You're the best player on the planet.
Best player ever.
Best player of all time. I can't believe Michael Jordan said you weren't a Hall of Famer. It's totally out of context. But in all seriousness, Steph has had another MVP start, which he actually didn't have last year. He came out pretty slow last year, and so did the Warriors for that reason. It's almost been a complete 180 for this Warriors team based on how they started last year. They had a hot finish last year, and I was very bullish on them coming into the season because of how they finished last year. They still do not have Eric Pascal, James Wiseman, and Klay Thompson, and they're sitting here at 3-0. Jordan Poole, as great as Steph Curry's been, Jordan Poole's been incredible.
Yeah,
like he was another one. He was building up steam last year towards the end of the season. He had a great preseason this year, and it has carried over. He's become like the secondary scorer for this Warriors team, and that's kind of what they drafted him for late in the first round a few years back. And he's finally kind of blossoming into that role after some G League time, over his first 2 years, and now he's making this big leap in his third year to the point where you might have to consider keeping him in the lineup when Klay Thompson gets back and maybe Wiggins gets the bump out of the lineup. I don't know. I doubt that that's what happens. But either way, whether he stays in the lineup or drops to that 6-man role, he's going to be crucial for them in providing additional offense. Then you add Klay Thompson back into this mix eventually. You add James Wiseman into the mix and not only add him into the mix, but get him up to speed with playing Warrior-level basketball. And then you add Pascal, who has always been great for them. I think once they get those guys back, I think we're looking at a Warriors team that's going to finish top 4 in the West.
Well, okay, so I wanted to kind of make a point about this. Like, I think that we should have expected this a little bit more, and I think we did because we both went over on these guys. But when we think about this franchise for the past 6 years now, like what happened? Like in 2015, 2016, they were obviously awesome, right? They get KD in 2017 and they're like ridiculously awesome. And then in 2018, we start to see, and in 2019, we really see what signing KD did to that team, which is it depleted the bench. It depleted the bench incredibly so. And then it took some years to recover that, right? Last year, obviously, and then even the year before that. Like it took some time to rebuild that bench. Now the bench is back, right? Yeah. And you talk about Jordan Poole, who probably gets kicked to the bench whenever Klay comes back. Maybe it's Wiggins, although Wiggins is playing well too.
Yeah.
But then you bring in a guy like Andre Iguodala, who we kind of considered done, right, last year in Miami. Like he looked cooked.
He did.
There's something about his presence that just feels right with this team. When you see him out there, it just feels right. And he's not going to go out there and score 20 for them. He's not even the defender he used to be. But he adds some effect to being in the Bay Area. Like there's something about it that he's back with this team. And then I just like the depth they have. Bielitsa, like I like this team a lot. I really like this team.
Another name I forgot to mention was their high first-round pick this year, Jonathan Kuminga. still not in the mix. And with the way the bench is playing, and with how Iguodala's playing, I don't know that he'll end up getting a ton of minutes. But again, it's another young, athletic body. I actually think Iguodala is going to be great for him if there was a veteran to soak up like how to be a professional in this league on both ends of the floor. For someone who like Kuminga, who has a similar build, like he's a big, strong, physical, small forward, much more, freak athlete like Andre Iguodala once was. Like, I think that's a great guy for him to learn from on how to carve out not only a role, but a really long career in the NBA. And I think that could benefit the Warriors late in the season once they get him up to speed. They're playing this well, and the bench is playing this well with missing key guys. I can only see it getting better once they add some of these guys back in the mix.
I think they're going to win the West.
Like the 1 seed, or just like fine, you got them in the NBA Finals?
I think they can win the West.
I do too.
Win the West.
I do too. I think it depends on what Klay Thompson we get back, because it's been 2 years. Can Klay Thompson still guard everybody's best guard? That's a tough ask off of an Achilles and an ACL injury. So we'll see what kind of Klay Thompson we get back. I think that determines whether their finals good. Yeah. I think top four is a shoe-in for them, if you ask me, if Steph Curry's playing this well. Playoff success, I think, will be determined by Klay's health.
I love this team. I'm jumping on this Warriors thing, man. I love this team. I love Steve Kerr. All right. That's all the topics we had for our Potapalooza, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we touched everything: baseball, football, basketball. Coop, do you want to take us home with what's going on at the network?
Yeah, man. We talked briefly about some of this stuff earlier, but make sure you head over to podpage.com/allinpodcast. You can check out my recent Sixers article and future articles coming up. I have the NFL Power Rankings after Week 7 coming out tomorrow. You can also find our All In Politics page there. It's actually a podpage.com/all-in-politics for their content. Highly recommend their last episode. It was excellent listen. And then make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're following us on social media. You can see on the bottom of your screen if you're watching on any of our streaming platforms. You can also follow us on Twitch now. We now stream our podcast on Twitch. So at all_in_pod now. One of the features people have been telling me they love is like Twitch. If you're like iOS, I don't know about Android, but if you have Twitch, you can do the picture-in-picture, so you can be streaming our podcast or watching our podcast while doing other things on your phone. So follow us on Twitch at all_in_pod to catch All In podcast content.
I'm going to start streaming on there. I'm nice at the games, bro. I'm tough. I've been working on Call of Duty, man. I'm telling you, my KD is up to like a 0.5.
Have you gotten FIFA 22 yet?
No, I didn't, because us broke boys in the hood couldn't get the PS5, so I got kicked out of the Pro Club Steam because I don't got the PS5. Come on, man. We just
opened the club back up, man. Pro Clubs After Dark returning.
It's been a cold winter.
You got to bring it back.
Cold winter, bro. It's been a cold winter for me out here in the gully. So, all right, that's all we got, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week. Please subscribe to that channel, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you guys.